Ziegler from the distance learning section, and we haven't officially done a Twitter chat yet, but it is something we've been working on as a follow-up to an authors forum on embedded librarianship that we did earlier this year. And one of the reasons we're trying to kind of build off of that event is because the authors who participated in the author forum are all folks who have active Twitter presences. So that is, a way to kind of engage their followers as well as our own. So I can echo what Erin said.
Yeah, I think, sorry, this is Mackenzie again. The committee that I am rolling off of that just did it, I think we had a lot of success, partially because I also run the social media for ACRL, for the instruction section. And so that has a pretty big platform, and so I was able to kind of promote on there as well. But also I know a bunch of people that are academic art librarians. I don't know how involved they are with the section as of this date, but I know a lot of them personally and through our list and things like that, and they are very active Twitter users. Ironically, I actually don't use Twitter at all, but it's been a really interesting way to kind of get people together at the same time from all over the world and talk about some recent things. And so it's good to hear feedback that other people have tried similar things or are about to. So thanks for that input. And I think you're right about making sure it's coming from an active account, certainly.
Well, this is Marielle, and I thought I would go back to Hannah's question about documents or workflows that you've found particularly helpful. And I just wanted to share that years ago, ACRL borrowed from the instructions section the whole idea of work plans and setting up a process where your committees at the beginning of the year think about what do we want to accomplish, and then kind of set out a plan of how they're going to get there and assign responsibilities and deadlines and things. And having witnessed groups over the years in various organizations that kind of come together and nobody really knows what they're supposed to do or has any ideas, I can't speak more highly enough of the idea of starting at the beginning of the year and figuring out what you want to do. It makes such a difference, I think, in members feeling that their time is being well used and well spent because they're accomplishing something, as opposed to, well, I'm going to a meeting. I don't know if we did anything. I don't know what we're supposed to do. I know that my personal bent is for action and closure and next steps. And when I come out of meetings where none of that has happened, I'm less than excited. So again, I think kudos to IS to try and manage all their workflow. So Hannah, you may already have that all set for your section, but that's one that occurred to me that might be helpful.
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
This is Pamela Salala. I have a question. So the work plan is something that we formally submit to ACRL?
Hi, this is Megan. So sections do not have to submit work plans to ACRL. The example was just that the instruction section actually has their regular committees and their discussion groups submit work plans to the executive committee. So ACRL sections, every year the only reporting back is the annual Plan for Excellence implementation report. And every July, the chair of the section, by July, we're going to open it here in a few weeks, goes in and reports on what the section has done throughout the year, geared towards the Plan for Excellence and a few other items. So there is no work plan reporting for sections. ACRL division level committees do have work plans, and they submit those to the ACRL board every year. And the other nice thing about work plans for your committees is if something does not get done during the year, or if there's other ideas that came up during the year that could not get accomplished, that committee could put those notes in the work plan and pass it on to next year's committee for workflow purposes.
Right. Okay. Thank you. This is Pamela again. I have a bit of advice for the incoming leadership for WGSS in any section, is making sure to bring the secretary to the section into the fold. I think sometimes that person can get I've witnessed that person being not fully incorporated into things, and it's a loss to the section, and it's a loss to that person who volunteered to run for that position. And it's an important position to keep the notes and keep all that information and help with maintaining the history of the section.
Thank you, Pamela. That is a great point. And related to that, a few of the sections that do those work plans, they have that very organized secretary role, organize those work plans every year and collect them from all the committee chairs. So yes, that is absolutely a great point.
I think, Pamela, expanding on that, anything that you and that all of you in your leadership role can do to help your members feel engaged is going to help them feel excited about the profession, help them feel excited about the organization. So when I said you're part of kind of Karen's leadership class, I really do mean that we're counting on you to help spread the word about the organization's initiatives, to let us hear from you if there's things you need, and we'll send you messages about things going on. But a big part of your role, as I see it, is listening to your membership and finding a way to engage them so that they see the value of this community that you're building, about sharing practices, about coming up with new ways of doing things. So we have some policies and practices in place that are meant to make it easier for you to do things. But if they're becoming barriers, we need to know that. We didn't write rules and procedures because we didn't have enough to do one day and thought, let's see how hard we can make it for the volunteers. We wrote these things because the same question was coming up over and over again, and we wanted to make it easy for you all to get done and focus on the content and focus on that member engagement. So we really look at this as the beginning of a multi-year dialogue with you that we want to be in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, this is Erin. I have a question, kind of a logistics question. So my university doesn't provide effective video chat support or software for virtual meetings. Does ACRL have something that, like, if I'm the chair of a committee or I'm convening an ACRL committee meeting, that I could use through your office? I mean, could I use this Zoom account?
Yes, this is Lois. Yes, you can. You would have to go to the virtual meeting lib calendar. Why don't I just show you where you need to go? I need to stop sharing my screen to do that, though. Okay. All righty here. If you want to use our virtual meeting software, you're going to have to go to the libcal. And I know I have this on my computer because I knew this question was going to come up. Okay.
So we do provide it, but we have so much demand for it that we just ask that you go through the calendaring system to make sure that you get a slot where we can provide the staff support and open the meeting room for you and things like that. So thank you, Lois, for showing us how to do this.
And I will post this in the chat box. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to click on the virtual meeting lib calendar that's on the website. And what it will do, it will come to the first date that's actually available for you to book a meeting. And if you see in green, those are the time slots that you can book a meeting in LibCal. So that's 9 through 10, 11 through 12, 1 through 2, and 3 through 4. And all these meetings are in Central Standard Time Zone. I have to emphasize that, although that's in red, because everybody's not in the same time zone, a lot of times leaders get that confused. So make sure when you're booking your meeting, you actually want the Central Time Zone. So once you locate the date on the calendar, if you see to the left where it's June, if it's not June you want your meeting, you simply click on the arrows to go to the month you actually want to book your meeting. You click on the day, and once you click on the day, then you're going to go back to the calendar and click on the actual time that you want to book your meeting. Once you click on that time, you see that it goes from green to gold. Once it goes from green to gold, you're going to scroll down, and do you see where it says continue? You simply click on continue. And then this is where you're going to enter your information, your first name, your last name, your email address, and then use the drop down because we need to know what unit that's actually requesting the meeting. Well, for this particular purpose, it will be a section. And then we need your unit title. So if you're part of the STS section, we need you to say ACRL STS. The exact name of the title as you desire it to appear in the meeting, your estimated number of attendees. It doesn't have to be perfect, just the best guess. And then what type of meeting are you requesting? Is it a committee meeting? Is it a discussion forum where you're anticipating a large volume of participants? Or is it just a practice session? You have to schedule a meeting before you schedule a practice session. And then the learning outcomes. What are you anticipating participants to learn from this actual discussion forum? That's usually from a discussion forum, your targeted audience. And then if you're going to have presenters, again, this is usually used for those who are requesting a discussion forum. We simply ask that you give us your presenters' names, their university or organization, and then their email address, because if your meeting is going to be recorded, we need to send them a speaker agreement. Once all this information is filled out, all these fields are not mandatory. Like if you're simply just having a committee meeting, you don't have to give us learning outcomes and targeted audience and presenters. But once all of this information is completed, you simply scroll down to the end and click Submit My Booking. I will get an email with all this information, and then I will schedule your meeting accordingly. And I'll send back via LibCal your actual meeting registration link or meeting link. Does anybody have any questions? Or was that pretty clear?
That was. Thank you, Lois.
And if you desire to have a discussion forum and it's not within those particular 4 time slots, just simply send me an email requesting the time you desire to have a meeting, or if you desire to have a meeting that's more than 60 minutes, I'll still need an email, but we can work around that.
Thank you, Lois. And this is Megan. One thing related to that I'd like to mention is that you're welcome, section executive committees, interest groups are welcome to use ACRL software to conduct their committee meetings or their online discussion forums, or you can use your institutional software. And if you do use your institutional software, if you could please just send me a quick email to let me know about that online discussion forum in particular, because we actually do maintain a listing of those as a resource for members. And so when we get the request for a meeting and Lois works through the processing of it, she adds it to that website. But we also want to know, what else might be going on outside of our software, so we can keep track of that as a resource for members.
And if you're having just a regular meeting, ALA is still trying to adhere to the open meetings policy. So posting a notice 2 weeks in advance in your ALA Connect space is very helpful. Then other people who may be interested in your committee or your section's work would have that opportunity to participate virtually. And we do that for the ACRL board meetings, so you're always welcome to call in and listen to that. One other question that comes up sometimes, so I'll address it now, is hybrid meetings. And I know a number of you are coming to conference, and we don't have great support for those of you that are there trying to dial in somebody who's not physically at the conference. There's a little bit of support for that for conference services. I have sometimes used my own, I pay for unlimited data. I've sometimes just whipped out my iPad and used my unlimited data or my iPhone or something like that and put that on the table depending on the size of the committee. That sometimes works, that sometimes doesn't. There are kits that you can request from conference services, but I believe they're only good for calling in one person at a time. So I don't think you can use them to say, oh, 5 people are going to virtually join our meeting. So just to be aware of that. And I know some sections like instruction section have gone completely virtual. So there is no requirement that you have to have your meetings at midwinter or annual, but if you are, then that hybrid is a little bit more challenging to do. And there is nothing the timing of midwinter and annual, if you are going to work virtually, Elois and Megan can address this probably in more detail than I can, but I get the impression that meeting requests are very heavy around midwinter and annual time for the virtual meeting room. There's a lot more competition. So if you'd like to do most of your work in October and March instead of in January and June, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing, you know, particular that you have to follow the ALA face-to-face meeting calendar. If it's better for you to be on a different schedule, and then you'll have easier access to some of ACRL's resources. There'll be a little bit less demand for that.
That's
right,
correct.
And building on that point, Mary Ellen, virtual meetings that take place throughout the year from your committees really should adhere to that 10-day meeting policy as well. It's not just around annual conference and midwinter time. So if you have a virtual meeting once a month, every couple months, please be sure to post that meeting agenda on your committee's ALA Connect page. I also ask that you email me agendas as well. That really helps me build up the archive here at the office.
And this is Elois. Committee meetings are not recorded. So if you're having a committee meeting, back to what Pamela said, the secretary is very important. But we can give you the chat. If you need the chat, we can send you the chat transcript, but we don't record committee meetings.
That's a good point, Elois, and building on that, for those of you that are coming brand new into your positions, we don't require verbatim kind of minutes. I would suggest you think of your minutes more as notes in terms of who was there, what was agreed to, and what are the action steps, and who's responsible, and when are they due. But you don't need to say, well, you know, the digital scholarship section met, and Susie said this, and Rosie said that, and you know, we don't need a blow-by-blow transcript at all. So these should not be arduous to do. They should be just enough that decisions that your group has made are there to remind you, you know, what has to be done. That kind of thing. And that kind of provides an archive record for the section so that somebody doing research or somebody that's trying to figure out what is the section working on or the interest group, it gives them kind of a quick look at things. So please know that the minutes are there, the notes to help you keep your work moving along rather than trying to write a manuscript after each meeting. You know, one other thing I want to mention, and I know we covered this in the recording, but I just wanted to surface for you that ALA is undergoing a lot of changes right now. There's a steering committee on organizational effectiveness, and they are going to have 4 membership sessions at the ALA annual conference. They've had some webinars. There's a Connect group, ALA Connect group for the steering committee on organizational effectiveness that you may want to join. And they're really looking at how should ALA be structured in order to be a great place for members to find each other, for members to work together, but to be efficient and effective and a good advocacy place. So some of the structures that are in place as we know them today may not exist in a number of years. All of this is being done by this SCOE, as they call it, the steering committee. There'll be the models that they're suggesting will be shared with members at the annual conference. The consultants were here yesterday, and so staff had a preview, and they're going to continue to work on the model and have a nearer final version at annual, but they're still in listening mode, so they're going to refine what they hear back from members about that and roll that up into a recommendation to the ALA board. Council will still have to vote on it at least twice. You know, some of the stuff that's in Constitution and bylaws will actually go before the membership. The current timeline would be that final vote in the spring of 2021. So while that sounds far off, the timeline's changed several times this year already. So I just want you as leaders to be aware that even while you're trying to learn your role in the organization as it exists now, you should be listening to how the organization might be thinking about changing so that you can give your voice and make sure that the organization reflects what you need from your professional association. Has everybody seen the messages from Lessa? I'm so bad with last names. She has a long hyphenated last name, Pala, and if I don't see it in front of me, I can't recall it from memory. But she's the chair of SCOE. Thank you, Karen. You want to say that again?
Palayo Lazada.
Thank you. It's not that hard. I've got to just work on remembering that. Thank you. Has anybody seen those messages? Maybe in the chat box, if you can say, oh yeah, I'm all aware of SCOE, or this is the first time I've ever heard of it, it would be because we are really, I think ALA is counting on each of us as leaders to make sure that the information is getting out. So, we're counting on you to make sure the digital scholarship section knows, or the STS knows, that kind of thing. Okay, so we have a couple people that have heard of it, some people it's brand new. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to mention it again. We touched on briefly in the recording. It's complicated, but I do think ALA is going to be changing, and I want to make sure that you all, as active members, have the opportunity to voice what would make the association work better for you. What are the things you want to keep? What are the things you don't? So I encourage you to attend one of those 4 focus groups, and I'm not sharing my screen, so I will turn it back to you all, and I will see if I can quickly find in my email those 4 times that they're meeting, and if I can find them, I'll paste them into the chat box, or if Lois or Megan, you have them handy, please put them in there. But I'll see if I can find them.
Mary Ellen, I just put the times in, I think. I hope I'm right.
Yeah, I think you and I found the same list, so thank you. Yes, I've got it. I don't know whether I pasted it in or not. I put it in my chat box. I can't see whether it actually pasted in or not.
And I'll just second, yes, there we go. I think we had this, so two people with those times sounds like they're right. So I'll just second what Mary Ellen has said about the importance of just checking in with your understanding of what's going on with this group. They have an ALA Connect site with a lot of good documentation on it, some recorded presentations that can help you get up to speed if you haven't been tracking on what's going on with Steering Committee on Organizational Effectiveness. That's what SCOE stands for. SCOE. And there is, as you may have heard the phrase, streams of change. There's a lot of streams of change right now for ALA and for ACRL. Very good idea to check in on that, and to, if you can, to join one of those sessions at the conference. And if not, as I said, there's some recordings that you can touch base on in Connect right now, just to help you get better familiar with what the questions are and what the process looks like. Thank you for that link, Megan.
I appreciate that. I was searching, trying to figure out how to get out of my ACRL Connect space into the ALA Connect one. You should know that for those of you that use Connect, there are some consultants hired that are trying to improve the experience in Connect. And I hope over the next 6 months or so that we will start to find it a little easier to use it. I think they're testing some polling capabilities, but you certainly can use it to share some documents and post meeting notices and things like that. And as we get more specifics and training information, we will certainly pass it on to you all.
Well, it looks like we have about almost 10 more minutes for questions or conversation if anyone has topics that you'd like to raise. Or hearing none, we might all have 10 more minutes in our day. I'm sure no one would complain about that. It doesn't sound as though there are more questions at the moment.
No, well, I hope that if nothing else, you now have met Megan and Karen and Lois and me and have a few more points of contact that you can reach out to if you do have questions after this session is over or as you begin your new role. We're here. I really see us all as a team working together to try and support you and support the profession. So please let us know if we can be helpful, if you have some new ideas, and we'd love to know how helpful this orientation was for you. And so Elois has put up the link, and if you could paste that into the chat box, Elois, because I don't think I can click on that and get there from your PowerPoint. That would be great.
Well, fantastic. Then I think Martin said, nice to meet everyone. I agree. Very nice to meet everybody or to meet everybody in this context. Nice to see people's smiling faces or to see names at least. If there are no other questions now, then I will second Mary Ellen's comments. I'm looking forward to working with all of you as a team in the next year or two. And I look forward to seeing many or some of you at Leadership Council on Friday at ALA conference. And if not there, then we will be in touch with lots of other points in the year, I'm sure. So thank you again for making the time. And I think that's all for today.
Oh yeah, I will close with one last thing. Since you mentioned Leadership Council, I should have thought of that. Although Leadership Council is a face-to-face event, we are going to be covering a couple of topics that I have asked for the facilitators to provide some discussion questions for us that can be shared with you ahead of time. So one is we have an EDI facilitator that's going to talk to us about I forget the exact topic. Microaggressions might be one of them, and Karen, if you remember, but I think she's going to have some questions for us that I'll share with you if you'd like to replicate that conversation with your group. And we are also going to be having an hour presentation from the SCOE leadership about what their new models that they're suggesting for ALA. So we'll be doing that Friday afternoon, and we will put in the Connect Communities for Leadership Council the background documents so that if you are meeting virtually, you can use those documents with your team. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you online or face-to-face. Appreciate all you're doing.
Very good. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Lois.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.